The pirate era in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is coming to an end in a few weeks, which leaves us wondering what will be the next era. Let's jump into some speculation. We're now heading into the 5th era since CG has added the era team that releases late last year. Since then we've had the Era of Apprentices, which provided marquees leading into Galactic Legend of Sogatano. The Era of the Cavalry, which focused on the Bad Batch Season 3. This one didn't lead into a Legendary because CG couldn't quite get to work. Then we had the Revenge of the Sith era, which I think has been the best era so far. Darkside Clone Troopers for Lord Vader, Temple Guard and Depa Billaba for the Legendary unlock for Jedi Master Mace Windu. Although Jedi Master Mace Windu hasn't been as great of an addition to SWGOH yet, at least for endgame players. And right now we're in the Pirates era, which ultimately is going to lead into Galactic Legend Hondo, expected in the upcoming weeks. So, heading into the 5th era, I'm pretty sure one of these 3 properties will be the next focus, unless CG surprises us with something else. So I think it's either going to be the Force Awakens, Andor Season 2, or the Acolyte. So yeah, I hope CG actually has learned from their mistakes with the Pirate era and picks either the Force Awakens or Andor Season 2, because those options have got a better reception than, for example, the Acolyte. So with that said, Acolyte still had some cool characters, like for example Kimir, I think I pronounced that right, who is essentially the Stranger and Master Soul, so it still has some decent potential if they wanted to add those characters into the game. But yeah, why I think it's either going to be the Force Awakens or Andor Season 2 is because if we talk about the Force Awakens first, they're celebrating the 10th year anniversary, which makes the timing quite okay, because Revenge of the Sith, they were celebrating their 20th anniversary, so we got a lot of stuff for that. There are still also major characters from that era missing in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. For example, Snoke and the Knights of Ren haven't been added yet. So yeah, Snoke is pretty mysterious, and he will be a character that community probably would like. And the Knights of Ren, they're mentioned in The Force Awakens when Snoke refers to Kylo Ren as the Master of Rens. And there are 6 Knights of Ren, so if you don't count in Kylo, which makes all of them the ideal marquee candidates. And the concept would be like the 6 Knights could be the marquees, while Snoke could be the legendary unit, or even an epic confrontation character. It really depends on how CG wants to do that. And you could have the 4 Knights synergize directly with Snoke, and the other 2 fit onto a Supreme Leader Kylo Ren team. However, the caveat with this, it would make maybe the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren too strong, maybe, especially since Dark Section Rey was added last year as a conquest lifter for the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. So CG would need to balance that pretty carefully. And if we talk about light side characters, most of the Force Awakens characters of the light side is already in game in some shape or form. And we just got Maz Kanata as the conquest unit, as the next conquest unit, or she is really in cycle of this conquest. So she is also from the Force Awakens era. So I mean, we could possibly argue that we already have a few light side the Force Awakens characters. So yeah. CG might instead add a unique old Leia, perhaps also to elevate it, perhaps a Galactic Legends Rey team, or maybe just to lead the Finn story team. However, off the top of my head, I can't remember if Leia actually makes an appearance or not in The Force Awakens. But yeah, that's going to conclude The Force Awakens and why I think that is going to be CG's main option. And this will lead us into the second most possible, which I think is going to be Andor. So, Andor Season 2, I think, still a pretty good option to go with, and because also many fans consider Andor Season 2 among the best Star Wars Disney has produced so far. So CG not capitalizing on that will feel like almost like a crime, and we know CG is all about making those juicy dollars. So we already have some Rogue One or Andor units in the game, like Cassian, we have Luthen Rail as a conquest unit, we have Mon Mothma as well. They're pretty outdated though, except for Luthen, and a little not as powerful in the game. And this era would be a great chance to refresh the Rogue One faction, or maybe perhaps just add a brand new Andor faction. And a few characters I kind of would like to see come. It could be Kleya, for example, Luthen's assistant, which I think was a pretty badass character with a pretty cool backstory, so she would fit in nicely and maybe even power up the current Luthen team that we have together with Saw Gerrera, Luthen, and then Kleya. I don't know, could be pretty cool. And she was a standout character and could be a strong marquee. Next one, Bail Organa possibly could be added, although I think he might be more suitable for a Leia Organa team later down the future, whenever they decide they want to power up Leia even more. She's already the best galactic legend in the game, she doesn't need that much more help, but if they ever add Bail Organa, I think he would fit into a Leia Organa team even better. Then we have other characters like Bix, who is the girlfriend of Andor. And then we have Brasso and Wilmon, who could form a thematic squad that leads into potentially a legendary Andor unlock if they want to, add a cap. Or I think it's a cap. I think that's how you say it, or a mantle to Andor, like we've seen with Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Jedi Master Mace Windu. Okay, it's a poncho. Sorry, it's a poncho. So we'll see. They've done it before; they could do it again. It's also an opportunity for them to add or rework some Empire units, for example. Perhaps a new Director Krennic, or rework the existing Krennic, similar to how they reworked Tarkin in the Revenge of the Sith era, since Director Krennic has such a powerful impact in both in Rogue One, and he is amazing in Andor Season 2, so him either getting a new character or reworking the already existing one would be a huge bonus, and I think a lot of fans would love it as well, because I think Director Krennic is a pretty beloved character, and a lot of fans like him, and we could also pair it up with the most romantic couple we've ever seen on screen, with Cyril and Dedra, who also makes a lot of appearances in both Andor Season 1 and Andor Season 2, so it could bolster the Empire faction and possibly slot them under with the Director Krennic or some other Empire team. And if we're talking about the Era's Legendary, my bet is that it's either going to be Andor or Director Krennic. Mon Mothma and Luthen already exist, although Mon Mothma, you could make the argument that she deserves to be a legendary as well. She already is in the game as a marquee character. I would say Luthen Rail also deserves to be a legendary, although we already have him as in the form of a conquest unit, so I don't think we need to have him as a legendary. I would bet my money that it's either going to be Andor or Director Krennic, depending on how they want to balance the game, if they want to have a dark side or a light side legendary. We've already had one light side with Mace, and now we're getting a dark side galactic legend Hondo, so we'll see, maybe it's gonna be a light side again. And yeah, with that said, I think most of the other guys fits best as marquees. So for them, yeah, Biggs, Clea, not really legendary status characters, but still they had a good impact in Andor Season 2. So leads us into the third option, the Acolyte. I think, yeah, this is definitely the most likely. It's a long shot, but I think it still could be a possibility. So yeah, Acolyte. They have some, although the show wasn't really good, but it has some cool characters in it. Like, for example, I really liked Quimir, I think that's how I pronounce his name. You might know him as a Stranger, and then we obviously have Master Soul, who I think is a really good actor, and I think he did a pretty decent job. Although the writing and stuff like that wasn't that good, but I really liked Master Soul. I like that actor a lot, especially since I watched the Squid Games all 3 seasons. So those two guys are definitely two that I could see come into the game, but I think those are going to come as marquees and not as legendary. But yeah, most of the show's cast, as I said, it feels like marquee levels addition rather than legendary material. So the only two characters from that show that possibly could seem, you could argue that those are legendary. It's gonna be Plagueis, who only showed up in the final moments, a few seconds, or Yoda, who also briefly appeared, and because of that, the Acolyte seems likely to be a full legendary era compared to the Force Awakens or Andor, just because I can't see, for example, Quimir or Master Soul getting the legendary tag. May definitely does not deserve it. She was just an annoying character, and the other ones, I don't know, the mothers, whoever they were, I don't know, they're also marquees. So it's definitely hard to pick a legendary from that series. So if they were to go with the Acolyte, which I don't think they will, it's gotta be that the legendary is either gonna be Plagueis or Yoda. It's literally no other way they're gonna be able to sell that. So to wrap it up, I think the most likely, as I said, the next era is probably gonna be the Force Awakens with Snoke and the Knights of Ren. I think that's gonna be a slam dunk home run, or however you say it in English. It's gonna be, I think that's the one that's gonna make the most amount of money for CG, and if they don't want to do that, they could go with Andor. Still probably gonna make a decent amount of money, getting some refreshed Rogue One and Andor characters to faction either, and also to boost up the Empire a little bit with Director Krennic and Dedra and Cyril. And as I said, the Acolyte, they have some cool characters with Premier and Master Soul, but yeah, it feels like the majority of them is going to be marquee focused. So in the long shot, out of the three, it's going to definitely, I think, not long shot, sorry, the best shot out of the three is definitely going to be the Force Awakens. So that's going to be my speculation for today. Please let me know which era you'd like to see come to the game. And if you've enjoyed this, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Peace out.